There you go. Just a little something to get us started off with. Excuse me. Coming through a little bit of a cold here. So, all right, let's get right started with everything. I'm sure many of you are watching us on the Guitar Gathering YouTube page. If you haven't already had a chance to subscribe, go ahead and subscribe to that, and that way you can get all of the videos that we do. Last time we were off for 2 weeks. The last video that we did was with Howard Alden and Andy Reese. Did you guys enjoy the jazz guitar show that we did with Howard and Andy? If you haven't had a chance to check that out, go back on the YouTube page and check it out. Man, just some brilliant jazz guitar insights and technique and music by Howard Alden, one of the best jazz guitarists on the planet currently. So really great that we were honored to have him there. There's the link. I had given it to Doug. Thank you, Doug, for putting that up there, the link, if you want to watch that. Hey, big day for Gibson today. Many of you have emailed me and have Facebook messaged me regarding Gibson Guitars, who many of you may not, if you do not know, they filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy this morning. A little before 9 o'clock this morning, they sent that out, and it was the top of my Facebook news feed by about 10 o'clock this morning. So all of our good friends, I tell you what, from someone who's linked in with Gibson in so many ways. I was the face of Gibson guitar instruction for about 8 years, and we did a course with them. We did many things with them. My heart goes out to those wonderful folks that are on the floor of the factory, our good friends there that have, with all the chaos that's been happening in the management office and in the head office, my heart goes out to the guys on the floor, because these guys are the best guitar builders around and have been there for decades. So hopefully they'll get things straightened out there. I have many thoughts on all of that, but I will spare them for you right now. Just a little lesson in providing, listening to your customers, and not making things that customers don't want. So there you go. But we love our good friends over at Gibson and wish them all the best if they can get this worked out, maybe with some new leadership at the top. I think that would be, anyone involved with that situation would agree that some new leadership would help. All right, so let's get into some questions that you guys have already asked today. So let's get right into this. Dave Guitar from Oyster Bay, New York, asked me a question about diatonic chords. Here's the question. What is the theory behind changing the chords? Chord substitutions, I assume, is what he's talking about. Say that he goes on to say the 2 minor to a dominant, or any other chords in the progression that does not fit the 4 or the 5 or the 6 for different chords. How can you do these chord substitution things? All right, let's talk a little bit about the why it works, then I'll give you just some nitty-gritty of what chord substitutions to work. Why this works is certain chords have common tones between other chords. If you think of a C major chord, it's got a C, E, and a G. Well, an E minor chord also has an E and a G, but also adds a B. So you can see 2/3 of that triad overlaps between those two chords. So if I go the other direction, a C major is a C, E, and a G, and A minor is an A, C, and an E. Again, think of it like, you ever seen those color wheels where you have colors that overlap? Well, 2/3 of a C chord, or 2/3 of an A minor chord, is in a C chord. 2/3 of an E minor chord is in a C chord. So, therefore, in some situations, I can substitute these in for each other. So that's kind of the nitty-gritty of why these work. Let me tell you kind of the main chord substitutions. Excuse me. A 2 minor chord, a chord built off of the second step of the scale. If I'm in the key of C, a triad built off of a D, the second step would be a D, F, and an A, just notes 2, 4, and 6 in the C scale. Or if you want to think of it in relates to D, it would be a 1 flat 3 5. That 2 minor, D, F, and A, can often be changed out for the 4 chord, which is an F major and FAC, because again, 2 of the notes, 2/3 of that chord overlap. So a lot of times if you're in the key of C and it calls for an F chord and you want to do something slightly different, you can throw a D minor, the 2 minor in to substitute. So that's one of them. A 2 minor and a 4 chord are kind of linked. A 2 minor also, not because of chord tones, but because of function, can often be substituted sometimes for a 5 chord. Now, without getting too deep into theory, a lot of times in jazz you will see a 2 minor to a 5 chord will resolve to a 1 chord. So sometimes you can even just drop the 5 and just have the 2 minor and it will function as a 5 chord. So that's another one. A 2 minor you can even substitute sometimes with a 5. The 5 chord, if I'm in the key of, here's a third one, if I'm in the key of C and we get a 5 chord, which is a G, B, and a D, I can do I can substitute in the 7, the chord built off the 7 step, 7 diminished. So that would be a B diminished, a B, D, and an F. So sometimes over a G chord, I can slip in a B diminished if I'm in the key of C. So that's the 3. Let me give you one more. For the 1 chord, what can we do with that? Well, we already talked about I can sometimes substitute in, and for the 1 chord, I could go to the, if I go one way, I go to the 6 minor. So C and A minor are related, but if I go the other way, I can do maybe a C major 7th. I can play an E minor 7th over that. So there's different licks that you can, I mean, it also applies to soloing if you want to think of it that way. If I'm soloing over a C major 7th chord, I can solo, if I want to, I can solo over an E minor. I can play my E minor pentatonic all day long over a C major 7th chord, and it's going to sound great. Let me switch guitars to my electric, and maybe I can illustrate this for you. So I can get the loop going here. Okay, so here's my electric. And so if I've got a groove on a C major 7th, and I'm just going to record a little loop here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so there's my loop. I can play in the key of C. Okay, so that works. But I can also do an E minor 7th arpeggio. That's a pure E minor 7th. Now if I do an A minor 7th, it's going to work, but it's going to sound a little bit different. That one sounds a little bit different. Okay, so some of these you can work with each other. If I'm in the key of C and I have an F major 7th, a lot of times I can substitute an A minor 7th over the top of that. Because an F major 7th, got to think of the notes, F, A, C, and an E. If I do an A minor, I have an A, C, and an E. Well, 3/4 of an F major 7th chord is an A minor chord. So that's why all this stuff works. All right, that's a little... hammer-ons and pull-offs when trying to make up riffs. We guys got camera 1 back going again? I'm having trouble blending together hammer-ons and pull-offs when trying to make up riffs. Hammer-ons and pull-offs. Nothing seems to sound fluid. Any suggestions? Well, first of all, you've got to get the physical motion of the hammer-on and the pull-off. So the best exercise I know for that is to just do that. Get up here to the 5th position, first finger, and you practice hammer-ons from 1 to 2, 1 to 3, 1 to 4, maybe even 1 to 4 stretch, work your way back. Then I can do 2 to 3, 2 to 4, and then I work 3 and 4. So that's all the hammer-ons that you can do. Okay? Now, pull-offs are the reverse of that. So with pull-offs, it's a little bit trickier. I'm going to go from 4 to 3, but I've got to pull, but I also have to keep 3 planted behind it. If I went from 4 to 2, 4 to 1, maybe 4 to 1 stretch, 3 to 2, what are other combinations we could do? 3, 2, 3, 1, 2, 1. So those are all the combinations there. So you end up with a little exercise that's like this. Then you pull off. Dumb little exercise makes no musical sense, but that's okay. That's not what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be technical. The best thing I can say for working on your hammer-ons and pull-offs is it's a physical motion. You're not going to get it by doing it 2 times and trying to do a little lick. Like I'm going to play a song a little bit later. It's a Phil Keaggy song, and it's got this lick in it. That's the lick. So a lot of hammer-ons and pull-offs on that. The last little climbing part is just I hit the first note and then hammer on the rest of them. And the key is you've got to hammer on the notes. You want them to be as loud as they can be to try and match the volume of the picked note. You can only pick so fast. So if you want to get speed beyond that, you can only do this motion so fast. So if you want to go beyond that, you've got to start incorporating hammer-ons and pull-offs. And a lot of times it's a physical motion. So work on it with a metronome, very mechanically, for a week, and you'll notice you'll be a lot better at it. Even after 3 days, you'll be a lot better at it. Okay? All right. G Church is talking about more of a beginner concept. Steve, I keep changing chords on the beat. Playing them on an upbeat is not easy for someone fairly new to do. So any tips on doing that? So what he's talking about is when I'm strumming, and I want to change chords, well, if it's a chord for one bar and then a chord to another bar, well, that works out pretty good because each measure can be a chord. But what if I have to change the chord, let's say, on a part of my strum that's an up of the strum? So you've got 2 problems happening there for the beginner player. You've got what's happening down here in your right hand and what's happening here on your left hand. So I've got to change the chord on my left hand. I've got to make the change there. But when I'm down here on my right hand, I've got to do a change and an up strum at the same time. So how you practice that is you go real slowly. Okay? Then if I add the new chord change to it, down, down, up, down, down, up. Practice it real slowly and work out the chord change first. Actually, work out the strumming pattern first. And then try to add the change to it. See if that doesn't help you for that. Okay, good job. Buckle Joe is saying, can you cover a gallop strum? I'm not sure I know what a gallop strum is. Never heard of it. So perhaps that's sweep picking. I don't know. If you could maybe describe that a little bit more, we'll get you fixed up. Johnny B is saying, Steve, I recently viewed a YouTube video with Brett Papa and Ford Thurston, great guitarist here in town, discussing how to use a C major scale to solo over an A minor progression. Okay? So he goes on to say, it's about arranging the notes in a different order, but was wondering the progression using a major chord progression would there be a scale to use besides the A major pentatonic or A minor pentatonic? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about that. Talk about relative keys, keys that are related relative to each other. Each major key has a minor key that is related to it. They share the same key signature. Okay, so it's kind of like 2 for the price of 1. In the key of C, I've got no sharps or flats, so that's C major. But also, the key of A minor has no sharps or flats in it either. A minor. So basically, I'm starting the C scale either 2 steps down, if you want to think of it going down that way, or up at the 6th step. A scale is just a combination of notes, but it's a pattern. Think of it like a number line. So a scale just doesn't go from, C to shining C, okay? It goes in either direction. But actually, I can keep going down. And I run out of neck there. I can keep going up. So it's the same progression of notes. Well, I can start anywhere on that spectrum, and it's still going to be the same combination of notes. Do you see what I'm doing there? You've got a crayon box. You've only got 7 crayons in your crayon box. Okay? So it doesn't matter which crayon I start with. There's only 7 in there that I'm going to end up with. So, the related keys, how do they relate together? I'm sorry, guys. If you could find me a water, I would really appreciate it. Okay. The key of C, C major, and A minor are related. C, if I go up to the 6th step, or down 2, I get to the A minor. Okay? So a major and its 6th step are related. If I'm in the key of F, an F and a D minor are related. Guys, I think it's upstairs. It's on the 2nd floor if you have it, or you can just get one there. Great. So if I'm in A minor, I can just go up to the 3rd step, the minor 3rd to the C, and I can tell what key I'm in there. So your best thing that you could do is just memorize what 2 keys are related to each other. C and A minor are related. F and D minor are related. G and E minor are related. A, F sharp minor, and just go through and figure those out there. I also want to introduce another concept to you real quick that's part of that. Thank you so much, Jordan. Here's another important concept that go along with that. When trying to group chords, I can group chords by key. Okay, so here I've got a little song, a little jazz song called All the Things You Are. All the Things You Are. Okay? Now, in the main part of the song, it's got an F minor 7th, a B flat minor 7th, an E flat 7, an A flat 7, a D flat major 7th, a G 7, a C 7. So if you look at it just on its face, you think, oh my goodness, there's 8 different chords, 1 for each bar, or actually 7 different chords. 7 different chords. I got to think of all the notes for that. I can't think that fast. And by the way, it's moving pretty quick. You're not going to get through it all that fast. Here's what I do. You can group these together by key. Well, an F minor 7th, a B flat minor 7th, an E flat 7, an A flat major 7th, and a D flat major 7th, if you think about it and know a nickel's worth of music theory, you realize very quickly all 5 of those chords are in the key of A flat. So I can just play in the key of A flat for those first 5 bars, and I'm going to sound fine. I'm not going to play any wrong notes, as long as I just play in the key of A flat. So I'm not necessarily thinking F minor 7th, B flat minor 7th, E flat 7. I'm not thinking all of that stuff. That's way too complex. I can get real lost doing that. I'm just thinking those first 5 bars are in the key of A flat. And then this next 2-3 bars, it's a G7, to a C major 7th. Well, those two are in the key of C. So if I can just play in the key of A flat for 5 bars and then in the key of C for 3 bars, it works. Okay? Just to illustrate my point, let me just play this into my looper here real quick. So I'm going to play F minor 7th, then a B flat minor 7th, E flat 7th, A flat major 7th. These little 8 bars. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now G7. Okay, so there's my progression. Since these first 5 chords are all in the key of A flat, I can just play in the key of A flat. And then right here, I can start playing in the key of C. Okay, so let me prove it to you. I'm just going to play in the key of A flat. I'm not even paying attention to what the chords are. That was right down an A flat scale. That was right up the scale. Now it goes the key of C. Back to A flat. Key of C major. A flat. C major. So you see how I wasn't paying attention to what was happening with the chords at all. I was just playing in the key that these chords fall into. I want to do a whole live lesson on that concept coming up, because that's a big major concept, and that can really help you out when you're trying to solo, especially over jazz, where the chords are coming really quick. You don't have to solo over all of those chords. It's too many notes to think about. Just group them together by keys, and it'll be a little bit easier. All right. Lily is asking, Steve, can you show blues using backbeats? Well, I tell you what, Lily, we're going to do that in just a little bit when I get our good friend Desi up here, and we're going to talk when we can bounce some things off each other. So keep that question handy there, Griffin, and I will try and get to that. All right, let's go on to a couple of things I need to announce to you. I got a couple more questions, but we will try and get to as many of them as we can. But I wanted to get to, we've got our good friend Desi Serna from guitarmusictheory.com, and Desi's going to be coming up here in a bit, in about 5 minutes or so, to introduce us to the John Mayer PRS Silver Sky guitar, and which is kind of this guitar that everybody's talking about. It's not out yet, but Desi has got his hands on one, so we've got it here tonight. So he's going to be talking about that and playing a little bit, and I'll show you this really, really cool guitar. All right. So, but first, let me let you know about a couple of things. First of all, we've got our Guitar Gathering Conference, 2018 conference, coming up June 20th through the 23rd. Wow, it seems like every time I announce this, it gets better. Well, it has gotten better, okay, since the last time I talked about it. Now I have confirmed that Johnny Hyland is going to be with us. So we've got Johnny Hyland. Let's look at this lineup that has just fallen together for this. Johnny Hyland, Phil Kagi, Winfield International Fingerstyle Artist champion this year, Christy Lene. We've got Australian Idol winner Joe Robinson's going to be there, and Musicians Hall of Fame guitarist Will McFarlane is going to be there. All right, that's just the special guests. We've got a whole other crew that are going to be teaching day workshops and things like that on songwriting, on flat-picking guitar, on fingerstyle, on jazz, on improvising, music theory. So this is shaping up to be one great conference. It's not too late. We've got about 65 people registered right now. I've got room for about 30 more. So if you're interested, go to guitargathering2018.com. 4 days of all things guitar here in Music City, Nashville, and going to be one of the most inexpensive music conferences that you can imagine. What are you going to be doing for that week? You're probably just going to be sitting in your cubicle, in your office, wishing you were here anyway. So you might as well come down, be sitting 10 feet from Johnny Hyland and Phil Kagi as they're talking and playing and illustrating and learning your guitar. It's a lot of fun. So check it out, guitargathering2018.com. Get you all the information there. All right. Speaking of our conferences, we do a summer conference. That's our big summer conference. And then last year, we started doing a fall conference. The summer conference, it's big, it's loud, it's wow. The fall conference is small and intimate, big stone fireplaces, the peak of autumn colors here in Nashville. It's in this year's conference is going to be Tuesday, October 30th through November 2nd. So it is the peak time of colors. And last year we had 15 people. This year we have space for 20. So, and man, we have got fingerstyle guitarist Trevor Gordon Hall. Now, he's never been on the show before. He's out of Philadelphia, I think. Trevor Gordon Hall, look him up on YouTube. Absolutely ridiculous fingerstyle playing. Nice guy. He's going to be with us. Trevor Gordon Hall. If that weren't enough to be sitting in a living room with 15, 20 people and being 5 feet away from Trevor as he's explaining fingerstyle guitar techniques, the next night we're going to have Phil Kagi. Legendary fingerstyle guitarist Phil Kagi is already booked to be with us at our fall fingerstyle retreat. So we're not talking about a stage where he's 30 feet away and you're somewhere in the back. We're talking about Phil 5, 10 feet from you showing what he does. So that's what this fall fingerstyle retreat, not even a conference, we call it a retreat. The summer conference is a wow. The fall fingerstyle retreat is an ah. That's what the fall fingerstyle retreat is. So everything's included. We're at this wonderful lodge right outside of Nashville, and all the rooms, all the food is all included. I'll be putting the page up for that probably by next week. So if you're interested in that, the dates are October 30th through November 2nd. Only 20 slots available for that. I need one more thing. Griffin, in that brown bag where my computer was in is the my tool, my guitar tool thing. Can you hand that to me? This past month, in April, we have been offering this amazing tool from our good friends over at Music Nomad Care. This is an 8-in-1 guitar tool. And this is the last day. This is going to be our resource sale. This is the coolest little thing. It does 8 different functions. Let me get its little safety thing off here. You got a Phillips head on it. You got a regular flat head on it. When I pop this out, this is the exact hex size. If you ever tried to tighten on a Telecaster, the pots where you plug in are inset. They're kind of reset a little bit. It's darn near impossible to get the right tool for that. This fits that. All of these other little hex sizes fit all the other crazy things that you need to adjust. If I take these pots off, there's a little hex thing there, and these fit that. If I want to adjust your pots on your effects pedals, and you need something quick that you can just throw in your case and adjust that, these are all the key sizes for all that sort of stuff. It is a great guitar tool. By the way, this is kind of a nylon, kind of a super strong nylon sort of material, so it's not going to scratch your guitar. Okay? If you're like me, I'm terrified when I got to adjust something on my guitar and I got to go out to my toolbox and grab some socket set that I've been working on the car with, and I'm putting all this pressure on trying to tighten something up, and next thing you know, you get a nice good ding in your brand new guitar. this tool. It's cheap. It's $13. And for less than the cost of a set of strings, you can have a tool that you throw in your guitar case, and it'll tighten up everything you need to tighten up on your guitar. All these little things here, if I need to tighten up on some right here, these little adjustments right here, these really small things, that'll get in there too. So there you go. Check it out. That is our resource of the month that we've got going up there. All right, let's give something away. No diss to our friends at Gibson, but I'm going to give away the Fender book. Okay, kind of a coffee table book for Fender guitars, and fun. We've had a bunch of these. We've given away. So the winner of this is quickly coming to my screen. Keith Bates. Keith Bates, you have just won this. Send me your information at service@mightyoakmusic.com, and we will send it out to you. Name, mailing address, things like that. Mighty Oak, service@mightyoakmusic.com. Desi, why don't you go ahead and come on up here? While Desi's coming up, I'm going to give away one more thing from our good friends over at Martin. We did a big whole show with Martin Guitars. I think it was probably 3 weeks ago. And we're going to give away a set of strings. So the winner of the set of strings is quickly coming, P. Fisk, Paulette Fisk. You have just won a set of Martin SP strings. So send me your information, Paulette, at service@mightyoakmusic.com. And would you welcome the great Desi Serna? Desi, thank you so much.
There's a lot of loud applause out there.
There's applause going around the globe. You can't hear it, but it's going around the globe right now.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming here and being here with us tonight. Tell us a little bit about what you have there. What is that?
It's show and tell day.
It is show and tell day here at Live Lesson. Maybe we can get some good tight shots of this, guys.
Yeah. So I have a little relationship with Paul Reed Smith Guitars, and at times they do loan some out.
Yeah.
And so this guitar has been kind of making its rounds.
This is the John. What's its official name? John Mayer Silver Sky.
It's called the PRS Silver Sky, and it is the John Mayer signature guitar. Mm-hmm. And it's the guitar that broke the internet. It became so controversial, and I don't know that there ever was a guitar release that where so much attention was brought to it, and there was so much controversy and just comments and debating, and it got crazy.
It did. I saw a YouTube people loving it, people dissing it, people all kinds of stuff. But it is a gorgeous instrument. It looks a lot like a Strat. You can't help but notice the combination.
I don't think the people at PRS can say this, but there's no question about it that when John Mayer went to PRS, that he wanted to have a Stratocaster style guitar that felt and sounded like the best of the vintage instruments in a production model, and he felt like PRS was the company that could deliver the way that he wanted. So I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think the similarities. Of course, there are some differences. If you compare them closely, you can see there are slight differences in the body shape and some of the contours here.
The contour, the cutaway. I don't know if we can get a good enough shot to see that. Is very different than a Strat in how it's angled.
Which just makes it.
Which actually makes a whole lot more sense to do it that way.
To access the fretboard up there.
To access the fretboard up there.
The biggest difference would be the shape of the headstock. They took a PRS headstock and they flipped it around, and something just landed on this, and now it's crawling on it. There, he gone. Okay, and they kind of elongated it because John Mayer wanted to have more cut out here so that it was more comfortable for him.
Yeah.
Other than that, those are some things that are different, and there are a lot of things about this guitar that are different than any other PRS that they've made, at least in my opinion. This neck,
it's got a bolt-on neck.
It's got a bolt-on neck.
So show them the back.
And this neck feels nothing like a PRS neck.
Yeah, no,
This
that is
feels-
not a
it's got
PRS type neck.
a 7.25-inch radius, vintage style Strat neck on it.
Yeah.
A lot of people didn't understand why they did that, because they thought, well, isn't that a design element that was flawed, and haven't we improved on that over time by making a flatter fingerboard? But John Mayer said no. He thought that was these great players played on these necks that had that radius, and he felt like if it was done right, it would be perfect. And I was a bit of a skeptic too, because I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't feel comfortable playing a 7.25 radius guitar. Can't bend strings, right? Well, except for Jimi Hendrix did, and Stevie Ray Vaughan did, and John Mayer does. So anyway, so when I picked it up and started playing it, I was like, wow, this feels incredibly comfortable.
Yeah.
And so
Well, take us through some of the sounds, like the different pickup sounds. Play a little bit for us so we can get an idea.
Yeah, so here's the neck pickup. How's our level there? Do we have room to maybe bump it up a bit? Yeah, we need to get a little bit more tone out of this amp, I think, to do it justice. Here's in between here, so.
Gorgeous.
I'm going to go all the way back to
So it's 5-way switch, regular standard 5-way switch.
just like a Strat. We're playing through a Fender Bassman here.
Yep.
So, these pickups again were made to John Mayer's specifications, and he wanted to have pickups that he felt had captured everything that he liked about vintage Strat tone.
Are they active pickups?
But they're not active.
So passive pickups. Yeah.
They're not noiseless, as far as I'm concerned.
But are they? They're not Strat pickups though. They're PRS pickups.
They're PRS pickups. It says PRS 635JM.
They get a gorgeous sound. Just
Yeah,
crystal clear.
they really do. And yet he wanted them to be more tame and kind of take away some of those negative things about single coils and vintage Strat style pickups that Strat players were always trying to work around, or always modding their guitar and trying to upgrade the pickups or something to have something that was just right. So, and I think he nailed it. And so I have had a lot of people play this guitar because when they found out that I had one on loan, they're like, I've heard about that, I want to try it. Including,
Do you know how much they retail for?
They retail for, I think, $22.99.
Okay.
Which is surprisingly reasonable, because I've had several people play this and they say, this feels and sounds like my custom shop that I paid twice as much for.
Yeah.
Or it feels and sounds as good as some other kind of custom build Strat style guitar that they paid a lot of money for, or they spent a lot of time upgrading and modding and trying to get right. So Stratocasters, I think, are generally one of the most popular platforms for like modifications.
Yeah.
And everyone always modifies their Strat, because they're not happy with the nut or the tuners or the pickups or the pots or something. That's just, you don't, most players don't buy a Strat off the wall and it's just perfect. There's always something they want to change. But from what I understand, Mayer's idea was, why do we have to do that? Why can't we get it right and capture everything that we like about that style of guitar and its tone? And also, and this is important, he said, and get it right every time so that you don't have to play 100 models of a guitar to find that one with the magic mojo. Why can't we get it right every time? And he felt like PRS was the company to go to for that.
And you've been working with Paul Reed Smith for a while.
Yeah, for many years, just because, with my guitar instruction business, I mean, and I can get a lot of exposure for the guitar. So they've been generous, and they've loaned me instruments in the past. And this was actually in town because someone was doing a review for it. And so I said, could I just borrow it for a little bit before it goes back?
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd love to try it out.
Do you know when they're supposed to be fully released?
I think there actually are some that are shipping right now.
Okay.
Because I've had a couple of friends that have tried this and said, oh my goodness, I think I want to buy one of those.
Yeah.
And they did find, I think Reverb and some other online retailers, I think, do have them in stock and are shipping them now.
Now, it's just a gorgeous instrument. Maybe we can...
You want to try it out?
No, well, maybe we could... I was going to say, maybe we could play something together.
Let's do that. It is made for playing music. What you got in mind?
Oh, I don't know. I'm on just maybe a blues and E or something.
Let's do blues and E.
One more time. Oh, wonderful, wonderful. What a cool instrument. Absolutely gorgeous. If you want to get more information on that, you can check it out at Paul Reed Smith's website. Doug, you can put up the link for that. Oh, I think you already have it up there. Also, I wanted to try and get, I don't know whether it's even cool for me to mention, but I'm going to mention it anyway because Gruhn's put it out, is they've got actually in the Gruhn inventory right now Albert King's guitar, the guitar that he played, that Flying V that he played for the last 4 years, all the way up until the concert 2 days before he died. He played that guitar. That guitar is actually at Gruhn's right now. And for a mere, I think, $130,000, that could be yours. So anyway, just cool things. I'm going to try and get Greg to show it. Maybe we can get that on the next live lesson to do that. So what's been going on in your music education world?
Still doing music education world.
GuitarMusicTheory.com.
That's right. Yep. And we had featured the Fretboard Theory
the Fretboard Theory books, wonderful books,
which are still popular. And of course, I got the whole full-blown video series for the books, which a lot of people opt for. So there's a lot of demand for that. A lot of time just taking care of those customers and following up with them and updating the video stuff. After a while, some of it you just want to refilm because you can make the video quality or the sound quality a little bit better. So I've updated quite a bit of that. And got to use some new gear too, which
fantastic.
Was exciting.
Good.
That's what's going on.
Well, I'm so glad that we were able to have you here for a few minutes to show us what a really, really cool guitar. It's really hard to describe the neck as you're looking at it. Neck radius, you may not think it has a lot to do with things, but neck radius really is radically important of how it feels on the back of your hand. So getting the radius right is an important thing. Getting that neck shape right. So that is often the hidden thing that really makes a guitar. Sometimes if the neck is too thin, it may feel really comfortable at first, but you try playing a whole gig with a thin-necked guitar, and wow, it's. I know I've got a Telecaster, and I got a big old thick neck on it, and wow, after playing a long time, that thick neck feels pretty great with a good thicker neck. So getting that neck right is an important thing. So thank you so much, Desi, for being here.
Thanks for having me on,
us.
Steve.
I'm so glad this worked out. All right, let me give away one more thing while Desi's getting packed up here, and then we will get you guys out of here. I'll play a little acoustic thing, too, before we go. Had a lot of questions about modes and things. I'll try and get to those on the next live lesson, too. We'll have another live lesson next week, and we'll probably have a guest. I know our friends from with Mike Beyer and the SOAR guys, Sounds of Acoustic Recovery. Those guys are going to be here with us. So it should be a really fun night. So that's next week, the May 8th. If you're in the Boston area or anywhere within 30, 40 miles of there and are interested in getting a private lesson while I'm going to be up there here in the next couple of weeks, shoot me an email at service@mightyoakmusic.com, and we will just let me know, and we'll try and work it out. I'd love to do something while we're up there. We'll have a little bit of free time when we're not busy with my son, who we're up there watching him graduate from Brandeis University with his master's in music. So excited about that. All right, let's give away one more thing. I've got actually two sets of strings, so we're going to give away a second set of strings. This is the Martin Acoustic SPs. The winner of this is Chris V. Chris V, you've just won these. But you haven't won a thing, haven't won a darn thing until you email me at service@mightyoakmusic.com, and then we will get these out to you. Send me your mailing address, what you won, screen name, things like that. All right, if you're interested in our Guitar Gathering Conference and our Summer Guitar Conference, check it out at guitargathering2018.com. Phil Kagi, Johnny Hyland, Will McFarlane, classes in just about every genre I could think of. 4 days of just all things guitar here in Music City, USA. And I can't tell you yet, but we're working on something pretty crazy for the Saturday morning of the conference. That's a special event, so we're working on that too. If you're interested, check it out, guitargathering2018.com. Hey, if you like the guitar tool, that's only going to be our resource sale for the month through tonight. So check that out. You can go to guitargathering.com. That'll get you to our discussion board, our community. If you're looking for some friends to learn with, best group of folks around. And I'm on there most days answering questions, and lots of good resources there. We have all of our stores there too. One of the questions that one of the guys here, just as we're closing, let me just encourage you for a second. He was asking about what can I do to be more motivated to practice. Well, here's some thoughts on that. Okay, everybody's always waiting for that flash of light to be motivated to practice. Let me give you another way to look at practice. If you wait to always to feel like it, I'm going to practice when it feels great, when I'm really inspired to practice, then I'll do it. Well, anybody who really does a lot of creating in their life realize that while inspiration is a very high octane for you to run on, you can't count on it all the time. And a lot of the times it comes down to just doing what needs to be done. The same thing with guitar and with motivation. You don't have to wait to be motivated. Okay? It's kind of like a diet. Okay? Whether I really feel like being on a diet and I'm all excited about being on a diet and I'm all worked up to do it and I've studied, or whether I'm doing it just out of whether I don't feel like it at all and I'm just doing the right things, you know what? The results are the same. Your feelings will catch up. So sometimes if you don't feel, I don't feel motivated to practice today, hey, practice anyway. Take guitar learning a little bit out of the, well, I only do it when I'm really, really inspired to do it. You'll never find time to do that. Only in the rarest of situations. Put it more on the spectrum of like brushing your teeth. Okay? You got to do it every day. Pick up your guitar every day. Never go more than 3 days without playing your instrument, or you're going to start losing some of the physical capabilities of playing. So never go more than 3 days. Try and pick up your guitar at least a few minutes each day, whether you feel inspired or not. And a lot of times your feelings will catch up. Your feelings are a poor gauge of how things are really going. And you know what? You can develop skills just the same, even without all the feelings of different things. So take your guitar learning a little bit out of this mystical inspiration land and put it a little bit closer to brushing your teeth, to where it's just something that you do every day. Sometimes you feel great about it. Sometimes you just do it. The results are the same either way. And you'll find you'll get a lot of good progress done, even on days that you don't feel like it. Okay? And your feelings will catch up after a while. Sometimes if you just get your guitar in your hands for 10 minutes, suddenly you start to feel like it again. Okay? So it's getting over that hump. So just have your guitar out, easily grabbed, where you can grab it, not in a case, buried in a closet somewhere. Have it close by where you can grab it, grab a few minutes and start to learn. Never go more than 3 days without playing. Always play. Try and play every day. Had a teacher tell me one time, only play on the days that you eat. That was his little thing. All right, we talked a little bit about Phil Kagi. We're going to have Phil Kagi at our fingerstyle retreat and our guitar conference. So I thought I would play a little Phil Kagi. It's the end of the semester for a lot of musicians and a lot of music majors. I've been listening to a lot of guitar players the last couple of days. And this was one of the songs that some of our guitar players tried to attempt, so I thought I would try and attempt it as well. This is Phil Kagi's Wind in the Wheat. go, a little bit of Wind in the Wheat by Phil Kagi. Hey, keep up the great work in your guitar learning, and we will see you guys next time.